Welcome to Monday's Miracle Moment. I'm Reverend Diane Lund, and I have a special card for you this week. Do you know, I never know what card is going to come up. So when I actually went to see what this week's card was, here it is. I'm going to share it with you now. It is one of my favorite quotes from A Course in Miracles. In fact, it's what led me into A Course in Miracles. So the card reads, "Unfairness and attack are one mistake, so firmly joined that where one is perceived, the other must be seen. You cannot be unfairly treated." Let me read it again. "Unfairness and attack are one mistake, so firmly joined that where one is perceived, the other must be seen. You cannot be unfairly treated." Well, why is this particular quote one of my favorites? Well, it was really what led me into the Course. In my upcoming book, you'll read a story about how in one relationship I felt very unfairly treated, as the person I was dating had more than me. They had many affairs, and I felt very unfairly treated when I found out about those affairs. And so I was asking for help. I said, "Please, God, help me." And I grabbed the Course in Miracles, which I wasn't studying at the time, but I heard a voice that said, "Look up." There was the Course. I grabbed it. I said, "Please, please help me." And I opened to this exact passage. And when I read it, that you cannot be unfairly treated, I couldn't believe it. But there was a little something inside of myself that said, a little voice that said, "Diane, pay attention. This is the truth." Well, I had to go and find a study group because I was in so much pain. And that's why I think sometimes we do come to the Course when we're in pain, because we're looking for guidance. Obviously, we're doing something wrong when we're in pain, when we are hurting ourselves. So if we look at this quote, it says, "Unfairness and attack are one mistake, so firmly joined that where one is perceived, the other must be seen." So why are unfairness and attack joined? There's probably the next line in that quote that you actually need to hear to understand it totally. It says, "The belief you are unfairly treated is but another form of the idea that you were deprived by someone other than yourself." And that's the thing. We want to project out what we're feeling onto some person, some event, and say they're responsible for how I feel. But actually, it's not the truth. You are responsible for how you feel. I am the only one hurting myself because it's the perception I hold of the situation that I feel is hurting. And so I have to change my perception of the situation in order not to hurt myself. This is exactly upside down from what we normally do. We normally project our hurt out onto someone or an event and say, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be hurting. But you know what? It could have happened to, there are relationships where people have affairs with other people all the time and they don't hurt themselves over it. They have an agreement about it and they don't hurt. So this is not a truth that you have to hurt if this particular thing happens. We create this for ourselves. We hurt ourselves. The Course says there is no enemy but yourself. Now, I know in the hierarchy of our culture, of course, there's right and wrong, good and bad, but we're trying to reach a little deeper. We're trying to look at why we hurt ourselves. And why we hurt ourselves is a game we play with ourselves. Once we start to take responsibility for where we're hurting, then we can change our mind and then maybe change our behavior. Once we change our mind about the situation, we can then look at changing the behavior. And so this quote is dear to me because it took me to a study group and it took me, about 30 years of studying in order to really get it, not hurt myself with this stuff. Of course I do now and again, but I try not to beat myself up. I try and say, Diane, that's just the human part. Listen to the higher self and know you can never be hurt and you are never alone. You make those decisions to hurt yourself. So, anyways, this is a very complex idea because it is absolutely upside down and backwards to the way most of the world thinks. And that's why I've written my upcoming book. So, anyways, leave your comments below. If you don't understand something, I'm happy to explain it a bit more. And download this card and put it up on your wall. Then maybe even look it up in a course because it absolutely changed my life and made my life happier. And that's what I want for you. Thanks for joining me this week.